That feeling when you start listening to the Doom soundtrack. Yeah! Cool, alright, let's get into this jam, Jiggity Jonesy. This is not the theatre room. Actually, this is my bedroom. Hello, Frank Walker from that. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about my film book collection, which is more interesting than it sounds because it's quite diverse, and a lot of them vary from big film books like the ones you see behind me to stuff like over there, which is actually stuff I keep on a little shelf on my bed, which are essays and stuff. So I'm going to go through those quickly first because some of them are essays, some of them are, well, there's a screenplay in there as well, and some actually much bigger books. So I'll go through them briefly, each one, then I'll go through the even bigger ones up here, which are more dedicated towards specific styles of movies or creators, much like Tarantino. So let's jump into it. So I've got a lot of Andre Bazin and Michael Cheon books. I've got a audio vision screen, sound on screen, which is a nice book. I haven't read it fully yet, but some of these are big essays that are quite brainy, complicated, so sometimes I don't always read through them all. Same as What is Cinema Volume 2. I also have, of course, What is Cinema Volume 1. This one I'm halfway through. You can kind of guess why I stopped. Some of them are really interesting because a lot of these are going through the kind of theory of film, which is really cool. It's pretty much a lot of stuff that we talked in my whole entire uni course. So I'm not learning new things, but I'm not learning stuff. I'm not learning at the same time, you know. Additionally, we have. It says edited by Rick Altman, so I guess it's written by him too. Sound Theory and Sound Practice, another big sound book. And lastly, on this note, we have Film a Sound Art by Michael Cheon. Strange thing is, a lot of these are about sound, and yet they're all books. They're all really hefty books too, actually, really nicely compounded. Quite beautiful. I haven't read a lot of them. I haven't gone around to it. Sometimes I usually only read when I'm at work in my break hours, and that usually is still in a room surrounded by other people when they're all talking or listening to videos or doing work or whatever. So not exactly the most ideal place to read that kind of literature. So I usually spend that time either reading the bigger books I have that are interviews and stuff that are other books I'll go through in a second, or I'm reading, manga or comics or something like that. Most recently I'm reading the Junji Ito books, some of them for the second time. I did Scott Pilgrim recently as well, so I'm currently doing Smashed by Junji Ito, so that's currently still at work, hence why I'm not showing it off. Next up, this is a possession I quite prize myself with, even though it's kind of got a dirty cover when you think about it. This is Interstellar, the complete screenplay with selected storyboards. I love this film, and I love that it comes with all these storyboards as well. Really interesting in terms of what it shows off in terms of the film. All of these are very in-depth sequence. Half of this book is maybe a third of the book is a screenplay, but the screenplay ends at 140, 150 something? Yeah, 152. That's the last page of the screenplay, and that's just under half of the book. The rest of it, of course, is from screenplay to storyboards. I love this film, and I really want to get the screenplay. It's the only screenplay I presently own. Eventually, someday, I probably expect to be getting more screenplays and reading more screenplays, but for the most part, I really like what this is, and it's interesting to see how it adapts from screen to, obviously, bigger picture. Hopefully I'm not blocking the microphone by putting my book here. Sorry about that. Next up, we have a double thread. We've got Cinematography Theory and Practice. This is a big-ass book teaching you everything about cinematography. It is an exceptional book. Trust me, I'll never get through the whole entire thing. Someday I plan to, but it's really big. And I've started reading it. I jump sometimes through parts depending on what film or video. I don't really think of when it comes to videos I'm making this as a composition of shots outside of what I might be adding in post. But of course, when it comes to making films, it's a completely different story. Combined with that, we have the 5 C's of cinematography. This is also really in-depth, really just, it's great shit, really. They teach you a lot of techniques and stuff, and if you want to become a cinematographer, these are probably the best 2 books to look for. But of course, seeming that most of my books dive into film theory, I guess I'm more of a film theorist, and that's why I guess my course has helped for that, for uni, because I'm doing media and communication, which is a bachelor in film study, so of course, it's a lot of that stuff, a lot of thinking stuff. That's why I like to do video essays, because I like to think and talk. That being said, then we've got the big boys. This is a recent big boy I got for Christmas last year. Christmas? Yeah, Christmas last year. This is the Wes Anderson collection. Obviously, this is a big-ass book detailing a lot of his films. I, of course, like Wes Anderson quite a lot. If you've seen my Blu-ray collection or my Criterion collection, you will see that I have a lot of his films, and I'm still purchasing them. And so this has really big stills and stuff, as you can tell, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. And they talk about Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, what's the zoo? I can't remember how to pronounce it. It's been a while since I've watched the film. The Darjeeling Limited, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and Moonrise Kingdom, which is unfortunate because I absolutely adore his latest 2 films, Isle of Dogs and The Grand Budapest. So, yeah, but still, beautiful book. It's quite fun. It's just interviews between Matt Zoller Zeist, yeah, and Wes Anderson over the years they were friends during the production of many of Wes's films, which is really cool. So that one I'm still yet to find a spot on the shelf with, so now I'm just going to go for, from top to bottom of what I have on my shelf. I might be disrupting some things here, so bear with me. I guess we should start on the left here, because I have a big book in here that, well, it fell over while I was in Japan, and it almost broke half of my stuff. Actually, was it while I was in Japan? No, it couldn't have been. No. It fell over while I think I was at work or staying over at like my girlfriend's place or some shit like that. It was just one of those days when I wasn't home and it fell over and everything fell off of it. So that's great. But to start off, I also got this one for my birthday. This one was for my birthday. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, The Art of. I love these big-ass books. You know, there's a lot of stuff in these books that goes into quite a lot of detail of pre-production, all these different aspects of the film, creature design, concept design, monster battles, of course. Similar regular stuff. It details some of the characters as well and locations, but for the most part, it's what they were doing in terms of pre-production. There's a lot of those big art books that go into detail of the concept art of what they had for these creatures and for movies like that. Say Star Wars is probably one of the most famous examples of it, because it had one of the first ever uses of a book like this, which of course fueled a lot of people's imaginations. I don't have any of those Star Wars books, probably will never get them, but at the same time, I'm not against it. I do like Star Wars. Oh, actually, I shouldn't be stacking these up. I should be putting them back on the shelf because you've got to keep things in an order. They're too big for the shelf. That's the problem. No, not again. Damn it, Disney. You screwed me again. Hi. These are my Disney ears. I got them back when I was in Japan at Disneyland. Okay, let's hope none of this falls. Okay, then. Okay. Alright. That should be alright for now. This is my next big book. This is The Alien, The Making Of by J.W. Rinsler. Another Titan Books special, slipcover and everything. Got this for my 21st birthday alongside the Godzilla one. It is really thick, really heavy, and obviously goes for a lot of production stuff. I'd show it off, but goddamn, this thing's big, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to put it down and just continue on, because this is a really big show and tell in terms of how much stuff I have. Alright, Godzilla, you're coming down. So are you, weird anime girl. I have no idea who she is. Alright. This is which I think I'd probably want to show last, but it is my creme de la creme of film books. This is what started my habit, my addiction, if you will. And a lot of these books I haven't read yet, which is very disappointing on my sake, but at the same time, I didn't mention how many films in my Blu-ray collection I haven't seen. It's ridiculous how many I haven't seen. But a lot of these books, it's one of those things of you just love to own it, and you could just sit down on a Saturday afternoon or whatever and just read, and just be so immersed in the beauty of the making of these films. And of course, that's when this big-ass boy, The Art and Soul of Blade Runner 2049, found this at Supernova a few years ago. Well, obviously a few years ago. I think it was 2018, and I was just there because I can't even remember why I was there. I think I was there with a mate. Oh yeah, I was there. I think I was there filming with Lachlan for the Lachlan Reviews Supernova, and it was just there. I think the lighting has suddenly gone really, really white. Can I change that at all? No. Okay. Let's turn this off and on again. So yeah, this is obviously a gargantuan book. I saw it at the convention, and I was like, I'm buying this. And it was like, how much was it? I don't know, but I got it much cheaper than I usually get it for. And of course, this is a monolith of a book. It goes through a lot of details of, obviously, the pre-production, the casting process, and how much of a monolith this film actually is. It is really hard to show this up. Hold this up and show it. Overall, beautiful book. 10 out of 10 would recommend. That's all I really have to say on that. It is easily the best book, my favourite book I have in this collection of books. And it really makes me really adore the pre-production process of films, which is something I'm attempting to get myself more into, and sometimes you can do that by, like, watching a lot of videos on it, like how Criterion releases supplementary stuff. Sometimes they have more than enough supplementary footage and whatnot to keep you hanging on. Next up, we have another book I got for Christmas. This is the Definitive Guide to Horror Movies: 365 Films to Scare You to Death. And there are a lot of them here that I've never heard of, but of course then there are stuff like My Bloody Valentine and Possession and Basket Case. They have a whole slasher section for the 80s, if that's obvious enough there, with stuff like Evil Dead and whatnot, and Halloween. Oh, there's even a section on cannibalism. What are the other sections of the book? I haven't read this one yet because, obviously I'm very big on horror films. God, this even has a beginning section. You could read through this whole entire thing and get the same appeal. I've already read for a book recently that detailed a lot of horror things, mostly through posters, so that's a bit annoying. But that's alright. So it has a beginning chapter, the birth of horror cinema, 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000 to 2010. So each decade being its own chapter, and of course, on the back cover, you've got Blair Witch Project. Quite an iconic film right there. I bought this one, Tarantino Retrospective. It goes through all of his films up until Django, I believe. Maybe it has... Oh no, it does have Hateful Eight. Yeah, so it goes through all of them until Hateful Eight, including 4 Rooms and From Dusk Till Dawn. Yeah, it is another really thick, cool-ass book that really details the kind of stuff, obviously, his most iconic films, but at the same time, it's all about Tarantino. It doesn't have Once Upon a Time, of course, because this was released quite recently, I think. This was... Oh, okay, so this was released in 2019, maybe late 2018, but either way, it was a good find, and I really like it. This one is a very slim one, very different to the usual stuff. This is another Godzilla King of Monsters. It's not technically a film book, but at the same time it is, because it goes into the film of, the stuff of the film. You got a lot of pre-production filming locations, screen grabs and whatever. Talks about the filmmakers and the cast and characters. And if you realize really closely, you'll notice that it's all in Japanese. I got this from Japan. I spent I don't know how much I spent on this. I didn't spend too much. I spent maybe roughly, I think, between 20 and 50 Australian dollars on it, so maybe $30. But it's also glossy and stuff. Look, it shines and shimmers without, like, yeah, see, look, there you go, shines and shimmers. It's really cool, though. I mean, at the same time, I do already have the big Godzilla King of Monsters book, which I got post getting this, of course. So I'm happy enough that I have this. It's one of those things. And, like, it's one of those things, too, of, like, even though it's arguably collectible, it's, like, also, because it's Japanese, it makes it more unique, and even though I can't really read through it, you know, as long as I had a fluent Japanese friend, I could just get them to translate it for me. Something like that. This one is more unique into the detail of... I haven't really gone into it too much. I don't know how much I can say if this is actually to do with film, but it is the art of Osamu Tezuka, the god of manga, which also includes a documentary. This is about the guy who made Astro Boy. And it's very... Oh, wow, I've even got tiny house posters in here. Wow, I had no idea. Okay, so, like, it has stuff to do expressing the manga and his kind of style. Yeah. So this is more about manga than it is about film, but it does come with the film documentary on DVD. And for the record, even though it's in really cool, weird plastic cover, I got it for 10 Australian dollars at a garage sale. Because I just saw it as well as a Super 8 camera, and I'm like, that looks really cool, so I bought it. Even though I've never read it and have never watched the DVD, but eventually I will. This one I really love. I've read through this whole entire thing and I love it. It's Alive, classic horror and sci-fi movie posters from the Kirk Hamlet collection. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a picture of an exclamation point. I'm kidding. This one is exceptional. This one goes through many different styles of horror movie posters and kind of briefly details each of the films and kind of what inspired the styles of each poster. I have a book that I'm about to get to next, actually. Oh, I can't remember that last one. Which this one's a good follow-up tie-in. The Art of Horror Movies. There's also one called, I think it's something about horror, but not about specifically horror movies, which is also a nice partner with this. This one I got from my girlfriend for my birthday. This one goes into much more detail than the previous one. It still has a lot of horror movie posters, but this one goes into more detail to certain actors or the certain time period and the certain styles of horror and the certain styles of movie and posters and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different variations of detail. I have actually read through this one. It took me about maybe a month to get through it. It's actually a really quick read because a lot of the pages are really just big art posters and stuff like that. But it's also really cool to see what kind of surviving artwork that they actually have and that they were able to showcase. So that's really cool, I think. Buried in here is a book called Cinemax, an atlas of 35 great movies. This is a book that I got from Sam and his girlfriend Nikki a year or two ago. Not this recent Christmas from 2018, but I think I think I got it for 2018 Christmas. Yeah, 2018 Christmas makes sense. This one surprised me. This was one of the first books I'd actually got, because I already had the Blade Runner one. And it opens up, and of course, already starts with the patterns from The Shining. Let's get a close-up on that. Ooh. But this actually goes through the detail of a multitude of films. This is... I can't even read what that says. So... This is The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, for example, and this shows you the map of all the different locations that they go through, and which characters are which, and where they go to, and whatever. It's pretty cool for some more iconic ones. There are... What's a good film to show? Because it's an atlas of the film, so you've got all this range from Metropolis, King Kong, Wizard of Oz, all the way through to Back to the Future and Princess Bride. Let's jump to Back to the Future on page 82. That one's an interesting one. Do these even have... Okay, that's Predator. Wow, okay. Predator's just an island. That's really... So it's actually really cool that they've actually gone into the detail of, you know, being able to figure out where all the characters are. Labyrinth. I find it hilarious because it's, like, iconic. But look at that. This is Back to the Future. Back to the Future #1. That's how detailed they go for it. So it's a really commendable book in the detail that they go into. I haven't fully read it because at the same time, it's cool. Like, it goes into a lot of detail as to kind of the character motivation of, there's a lot of different stuff about each character and stuff and why they go this pathway and whatever and how means this and whatever. So there's a lot of stuff to it. I haven't fully read it, so I can't express too much detail about it, but at the same time, it's pretty fun. So, there's that. Now we are jumping down the next shelf to Alien. We've got the Alien Covenant one. This is a pretty small official collector's edition book. I mean, I got it for really cheap. It was like maybe, I think it was $10 or something. And of course, it goes into details about all the characters and stuff like that. It's much like what do you call it? Actually, it's pretty much just the characters with some stuff about the aliens as well, the Neomorph, whatever. It's pretty much like the Godzilla one. It's just a small book like that, so it's nice. I don't mind it. Oh, okay, let's hope the whole shelf doesn't collapse. I don't think there's anything more in this shelf outside of the one I'm currently holding. All the rest of these are manga, so you've got the whole Junji Ito collection, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, well, just the Scott Pilgrim books. Got some Marvel ones with Spider-Man and Venom, Superman All-Star, Rick and Morty, Ghost World, and a hell of a lot of Walking Dead. And you've got some horror books like Christine, Frankenstein, Dracula, David Trifford's Interview with the Vampire. Yeah. But this is the art and making of Alien Covenant, which you'd be surprised, but I really like Alien Covenant. Same kind of deal as all the rest of the art books. Not as big, which is nice, but still quite big. Same kind of detail. All this behind-the-scenes production stuff into the book, into the film, and I really like it. It's beautiful stuff, and it is a cool art addition to my collection. I have a small little David Lynch shelf, which has the Twin Peaks pop vinyls as well as the Secret History of Twin Peaks and the Final Dossier of Twin Peaks. And somewhere on this shelf I have the Secret Diary of Laura Palmer as well. But I also have probably much my favourite one, Lynch on Lynch, edited by Chris Rodley. This is actually the renewed edition, the revised one, which has Mulholland Drive in it. Really good book. If you get a lot of his criterions, you will get a lot of that supplementary stuff in the digipack. Some of them, like the Elephant Man, has a big, thick booklet, and that's pretty much just the straight interview taken out of Lynch on Lynch. So, yeah, it's not bad. Additional Lynch we have, which I have yet to read, Room to Dream, which is an autobiography written by him and Christine McKenna. So, I'm interested to read this at some stage. Yeah, he's my favourite director, so, And lucky last on this shelf, we have French cinema. This is the favourite book of French cinema. It's another really big, long text. A lot of reading. Eventually I'll get through it fully. I've read a couple of the chapters, which is interesting enough. I really like French cinema, so, there's that as well. So that's quite fun. Lastly, I'll go through some other books I have film-wise. I've got film. It's a contact sport. Got this for like $3 at a library, thing where they get rid of library books because I guess that's what they used to do. I haven't read it yet. I think I started to, but I just got preoccupied with the rest of high school. So, yeah. Then there's Men, Women, and Chainsaws, which is a really interesting look at gender in modern horror film. Really good book, actually. And then there's a very easy read, David Lynch, Catching the Big Fish, Meditation, Consciousness, and Creativity. Not exactly a film book, but it's still David Lynch. So there's that. Then we're down to my last few. This is a really cheap one I got, called The Cinema of Orson Welles. I think I paid like $3 for it. This book is from 1965, and it is tiny, but it is pretty interesting. This is The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, of course, Twin Peaks. And then we get to my last two, which is Sid Field's screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting, and John Truby's The Anatomy of a Story. I used both of these two when writing my first feature-length screenplay. which I'm still working on. I had to do it for an assignment to make a screenplay, and I decided to buy these 2 books in order to teach me how to properly write a screenplay. And so now I know how to do that, and it's pretty cool that I can do that. And that's it. That's the whole entire film book shelf I have. So, thanks for watching. If that piqued your interest and all, to kind of get more of an idea of the stuff that I have and haven't read to do with particular directors or films or art of behind the scenes and whatever. I have a lot of taste in that kind of stuff. It tenders between this and that. Much like my soundtrack collection, which I'm going to probably do a brief video on because I'm looking at it right now. So stay tuned for that. Of course, if my Blu-ray shelf hasn't come out yet, it'll come out soon. If not, it's probably in like the pop-up thing eventually on the screen here, or in my film shelf video playlist on YouTube. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more, and we'll see you next time. Adios.